Hey, everybody. This is Time to Be Reasonable, and I don't really know what I'm going to talk about tonight. I guess there's things that could be talked about, about the party, things that are, more across the board. But I did not come on tonight having an idea and topic, and part of that is because I've been editing all day. Had a fun time where I had everything all in a row and set, and it just Swiss cheesed, and everything was all messed up. I was actually going to have a preview today with the cast, and that didn't happen. So, and have this, of course. That would have been like an hour and a half ago. So I chilled out and decided then to come on tonight and talk to people and just discuss things. Want to let people know that there is a anti-war protest in Los Angeles tomorrow, and you can find out about that by contacting the LA County Libertarians or actually be Libertarian Los Angeles County, the LPLAC. And congratulations to Orange County for doing a really great job in, getting members out there, getting the word out there, and helping Jeff Hewitt hopefully get some votes. And that was at the Orange Fair. And I had heard, I knew it was coming up. It always more and more seems to occur when I'm not expecting, but it tends to just happen, I guess. Anyway, so congratulations to you for going out and volunteering, and that's great. Yeah, so that's all the positive stuff. We've been covering the idea of mainly because, like, I'm a podcaster. Well, not a podcast. Well, YouTuber. I'm a YouTuber, podcaster. Anyway, I do media, and I'm also politically involved. And the question was, is it okay for somebody to be politically involved and be involved in that? Are they somehow taking advantage of their position to make money or that kind of thing? And we were like looking at that. In the meantime, and not necessarily connected, after in my mind was a decision that had already been made by the LNC. Karen Ann Harlos was suspended last weekend or this weekend. I think it was last weekend. Yes, because when I watched AEW. Yeah. I remember because someone was talking about, well, they're probably going to censure her or something, and I was just like, well, that's too bad, but a censure is kind of, to be honest, it's like a slap on the wrist for talking out of turn or something like that. But no, they are now. They've already suspended her, and now she is going to be appealing. And I don't know. Like, the thing is, being vocal and being the thing that the party needs, which is, someone to get things going. It's just like really strange to me. It's like, it feels like with the party sometimes, like we have, I don't know, like 15 Legos or something. And the Republican and the Democrats, they have unlimited amounts of Legos. And it's like, it's such a fight to use the Legos we have to make something that's, the judge is coming to take a look and see what we have, but Everybody wants to argue about what exactly we're going to make, how we're going to make it, how it needs to be color coded, instead of, either getting more Legos or, just doing something that to build the party. Because, inner fighting when you're not exactly pulling double digits in the polls doesn't really make any sense if you think about it. And I'm not. I really have no dog in the fight as far as Karen Ann is concerned. I will say though, as an associated student member for a very long time and being very familiar with Robert's Rule of Order, it is completely within the scope of a secretary or somebody who is in the know of Robert's Rule of Order to say, hey, this is how we should do this. And people might be like, well, that's really annoying, but, tough. That's my thoughts on that. The rules are the rules. And if you have somebody saying, hey, we need to follow these rules, we need to follow our bylaws, that's not exactly bad. As far as like letters that might be more passionate, I don't know. Some people might know the history recently, and I didn't think that I was even being that far out of line with the video that I had. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I think I personally have always been somebody who's more towards activism. When I was in the party, when I was in the Democratic Party, and in the College Democrat Forum, and I was like, yeah, we should be able to talk about this, we should be able to talk about that, and they're like, well, no, we should shut that stuff down immediately. And it's like, well, but we could build this thing, or we could have this free thought, or we could think about something. And sometimes it's amazing to me how that is not sought out by any group or organization at all. I've been absolutely shocked to see, like, either on a thread or on a or just a conversation where people are talking about something, and you see people are like all going a certain way, and they're like, oh yeah, we could do this, and it's like, yeah, and then we have this and this and this, and like, it's like, well, this is off topic, so we need to kill it. And it's like, if you kill something because it's off topic, sometimes that means you will kill what you might have been building. So if somebody's sitting there, and yes, okay, we weren't talking about having an event, but then we're talking about having an event, and Marcia's saying that she can get the choir, and this guy can get this and that, and maybe we'll get some money in or something like that. And yes, true, maybe the topic was like activism and how we can get more active, and we're actually talking about like putting an event together, and that's not where it goes. But the reality is that it's more valuable to have that conversation and to be able to keep that conversation going. Like, even if you were to say, hey, we're discussing this right now, so why don't you 5 go out, over there at that table, and just, finish the conversation, and then come back, and then, let us know what the groovy thing is that we're putting together. Because sometimes I think that would be pretty valuable. I've been involved with political activism for a while in the grassroots movement, and gone to quite a couple of these different leadership type seminars and stuff like that. So it's something that it is interesting to me. So I do have some thoughts on it. And sometimes I think that there's a weird divide where people are like, well, this is how you're supposed to act in a political setting. And it's like, well, not necessarily, because let me explain something to you. And I know that this isn't going to like endear people to me, but I'm just going to explain that one time when I was in a political science class, my professor was explaining what politics is. Politics is the method by which you gain government. Now, let me explain something to you. You might think, oh, okay, so these are the rules of which you gain government. No. It is the method by which you gain government, which means that anything that is used to get government is on the table. So let that sink in or percolate in your brain for a minute, because that's something that I think people don't realize. Also, there's so many people, this is a frustration, that say, well, I'm not political, or we don't do politics, or I don't do politics. It's like, yes, you do. Because if you want something, that's how you're getting it. You're using a manipulation, or you're using a rule by which to make someone do. It's like, I'm not political. I just think that person should do this, or I think there ought to be a law, or something like that. It's like there's always politics involved. Or if somebody likes you or doesn't like you. If you're at work and you're trying to get a position, then you have to play politics. That's just the reality of it. So we're coming up on the anniversary of 9/11. It'll be tomorrow. And I will say I will never forget waking up to a phone call. It was weird because my first wife was committed at the time, because there had been an incident. I can't remember the incident, and if I did, I probably shouldn't really go into it. But so I was kind of a little bit more sharp about the phone. Like I was expecting calls, because when somebody is, staying away from you, a lot of times you get, them calling or someone else calling and letting you know what's going on. And so I had a phone call come in, and it was at the time my friend Jared, who said, hey, turn on the TV. And I was like, okay. And I saw I saw the jet go into the first tower. And I was like, well, this is, that's horrible, that such, I was thinking accident, of course, because you see a plane going into a tower, you think, well, that's an accident, like the pilot got off course or something like that. And just then, and it was a live feed, the next plane went into the tower, and I'm like, this isn't an accident. This is premeditated. And then I heard about, the Pentagon, and I started wondering, and I went to my mom, and I'm like, this looks like this is strategic. This looks like another country is attacking us. And I was really bothered by it. I was bothered by it for quite a few days. I went to school. I don't remember why. I don't know. Maybe we were having winter break or something, but I remember it being really abandoned at school. But I found people and I talked to them about it. And some people thought, like, one of my friends was kind of strange. He thought that it was kind of funny. But, like, his reason for thinking it was funny was because, like, we'd never been involved in all these wars that we keep, bringing to other people. And that finally another country was bringing more to us. And he thought that was really interesting, or funny, actually. But I didn't find it too funny. There's people that were my friends that were really affected by it, to the point that they were, like, kind of more on the edge conservative, like almost like a libertarian conservative, but still more Republican, that did a 180-degree flip and just totally became like we can never let this happen again. Full Patriot Act. This is what we should do. There was one of my advisors was talking about the idea of having a like a jazz funeral, a New Orleans funeral, and in the Senate, which was our like where all our clubs made decisions together at Long Beach. And he was like saying we could do that, but some people might be offended and stuff. But I mean, if we want to do something like that, I guess we could for Halloween. And because they thought that Halloween was kind of too close to 9/11. And I was like, that sounds really cool. And like he just snapped at me so quick. It was amazing. He's all like, we're not going to do that. And it was weird because he was always like such a friendly guy, and he kind of changed. I remember it's funny because not that long ago I had walked in the march against the election of George W. Bush, and saw the tear gas guns when I was going through. And it was kind of surreal. And then to see the clip over and over again of George W. Looking at the children's book, still reading to the kids after he'd been told that all that had happened in 9/11. And I don't know. And I know some people have there's like loose change out there and some things like that. I kind of tend to lean the way of Penn Jillette and on that. And I tend to think that, I mean, part of it is let's say that all of that is right. And I've seen some things where I've like said, okay, maybe that's true. But here's the thing. How much are you willing to change your life based on something like that? I mean, if you're a logical, reasonable person, you can't just go, oh, well, these people did this to do this, and now I'm just going to go about my day. I mean, you actually would have to get involved. And you'd have to get involved to a point of, yeah, these people, they're not actually, I'm not going to see them as my leaders, and I'm going to do something about it. And then suddenly you're in a rebellion. And that's a hard decision to make. One thing I will say, though, is that it is interesting that Building 10 was destroyed, and Building 10 did hold a bunch of Enron documents and wasn't actually like affected by the planes, but in the aftermath somehow that building was destroyed. So I mean, I think some people did make some profit on it. I think it is interesting that what was actually in the building. It's kind of interesting too. But I just a lot of times tend to believe what Oliver Stone said, that, or not Oliver Stone. Well, what Belisarius wrote in Quantum Leap, where he's saying that, we want so much for it to be a conspiracy because it's so scary that one person or a few people can do that much damage. That's a scary thought. I really like that. But I thought I'd say something about 9/11, and all I can really talk about is anecdotal, what it was like for me. I wasn't in a situation where, I will say that in 2017, when I went for the UN, for the model United Nations event in the General Assembly at the United Nations, we did go by the memorial. And if you've ever been to the memorial, it's this giant pit. It's like a big black square, exactly the size of the tower. Might be two. I can't remember. I can't remember if there's two. There probably is. But I've got to say, it was harrowing looking into that and just seeing like that deep hole. And it was interesting, going to New York after, knowing about 9/11 and everything. But we went by the Twin Tower memorial, so on ground zero. And speaking of changes, like it's really interesting when you consider, and this is just like me meandering a little bit, but like when you consider that Rudy Giuliani was this hero of 9/11. Like he went and he helped all these people, and he was there on the scene, and he was helping first responders. And I think a lot of people, even at the time, were thinking that like this person would be the president. So it's kind of weird that he ended up being the chief counsel for Donald Trump in 2020. Well, I guess he lost the election in 2020, so in 2019 or 2018 to 2020. That's still not enough time. 2016 to 2020. I'll get it right. I'll figure it out. We have an election coming up. I think I want to say the deadline is the 14th. Is that Tuesday? Let me check here. I think it is. I think the election is coming up on Tuesday. So let's see. Yes, sir. It's on Tuesday, the 14th. And I already put my ballot in, and I've kind of said how I was going to vote, and I mostly voted that way. Voted for Jeff Hewitt, and I support Jeff Hewitt. And if there's going to be a recall, then I think that Jeff is probably the best person to take that position. So hopefully that'll happen. But if not, then hopefully Jeff will probably do well as a supervisor, and I'm sure we'll probably run him again at a later time. So that'd be really cool. But I don't know. As far as the anti-war protests this weekend, say it again, in Los Angeles, and you can get a hold of. I hate to, but I know that if you go onto Facebook, onto the LA Libertarian webpage, and you can get in touch with somebody, and they can point you the right direction if you want to help out with with that event. The only reason there's a couple reasons that I'm not helping out with that event. One of the reasons I don't know if I want to say, because I've kind of said that before, and like I don't want to pour water on the event, because I think it's a good event, but I will say that I know that certain measures are not planned, and because of that would also stop me from going to the event, because I like to feel safe when I go to events like that. And there's like other things, like I don't know, as far as precautions go, like I don't know how long I could stand, and I don't know if if it'd be expected that I stand. Like, for instance, I know I can only stand I don't even know how long I can stand. I know that when I first got out of the hospital, I could walk like back and forth in a pace for 8 hours and then like stand and then walk in a pace for 8 hours, that kind of thing. And that's why I ended up discovering I really couldn't do the security job anymore that I had. So I don't know what I could do at a protest in some ways. Like a lot of times I know the standing is kind of mandatory, but it's at 12 o'clock noon tomorrow. And I'm going to be in treatment from 9 o'clock till 4 as usual. Or not 9 o'clock till 4. That's a long time. But 4 hours. So 9 to 2 o'clock. And then I have some other plans at the end of the day. So I couldn't really do that. But I think that if you want to help out with that, that's great. And like I said, you just probably go onto Facebook. So I've been thinking and I'm planning on, and figured I'd mention it somewhere, but not necessarily in a big way. For quite a long time, Wildfire, basically all the different things that I put out, and with also co-hosts and stuff. I've been thinking about leaving Facebook for a while and been talking about leaving Facebook for a while. In fact, we're going to leave Facebook a year ago or something like that. I think that I just believe that there's a certain way in which people deal with each other on Facebook that is very problematic for me. Puts me in a bad position because basically it's kind of touted. Well, really, there's two messages in Facebook. If you are in social media, like if you're in marketing and stuff, what they'll tell you is, if you're on Facebook, don't say anything that could hurt you. Facebook originally, when it was brought out, was basically like, this is a place where you can share, your thoughts because you're safe, because you have Facebook friends. But the reality is they might be your Facebook friends, but they're not really your friends a lot of times. And there's a behavior that is acceptable on Facebook that is not acceptable anywhere else on the planet, which is basically just kind of gutting people. And like if somebody makes a statement where you just get to totally trash them and treat them with complete and total disrespect. And I was very surprised with what happened recently, because people that were my Facebook friends, instead of coming to me and saying, hey, you should fix this because we care about you, we're concerned about you, we don't want you to be in a bad position, and we understand what you've done for the community and this and that. Instead, they decided to just tear into me. So I'm going to say that as much as, and so I'm going to assume that it wasn't these people's nature, that it's Facebook, and I'm going to I think it's time to extricate myself from Facebook. And I'm not going to leave a message on Facebook. I'm not going to, and if you watch this, then you'll find out that we'll have a page on Facebook still, but that's about where it'll be. Well, thanks for listening to me talk about this and that and the other thing. This has been Time to Be Reasonable. And I'm your host, Frank. Have a good night, everybody.